Bhagwan Vishnu is in meditation. And he has been in meditation for a long, long time. How long can you sit to pray? How long can you sit for without fidgeting and moving, and how long? She's sitting on the ground. Actually, she's about the only person sitting on the floor. How long will she be able to sit there for? We go to the puja and we see and we experience all different kinds of things. Scripture has declared that we ought not to sit higher than the multi, we ought not to sit higher than the altar, we ought not to sit higher than the Bedi. Because God, actually, in a nutshell, what it is trying to tell us is, we make a pedestal upon which we put God, and we always put ourselves lower, on the ground. We must be grounded. That is what it is teaching us. The more comfortable we try to make ourselves is the more uncomfortable we end up. Do you know that? Is that true or not? The more comfortable you try to make yourself is the more uncomfortable you end up. You try to look pretty and you wear nice clothes, and that's the most uncomfortable thing you could ever find. True or not? You try to wear these shoes to look glamorous with a high heel, and you know what happened? You trip and fall and you even know you fall down. It is all about looks, and it is all about all of those things, and it is no longer about the devotion, the bhakti that goes with it. It tells us, in meditation for a long, long time, Bhagwan Vishnu, he is praying. And who is he praying to? He is praying to Lord Shiva. What is he chanting? Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Praying and praying and praying and chanting the name of Bhagwan Shankar. When his meditation was done, he looked around. And looking around, he observed something. He noticed that something that he held in his hand was missing. His shank. Have you ever missed something that you're wearing? And frantically you begin to look for it? Have you ever missed something that you were wearing and you forget that you took it off and put it away? And you searched everywhere for it thinking that it fell off? And months after, maybe years after, you find it in the place that you hid it? And then you say, how foolish am I? I wasn't wearing it in the first place because I didn't lose it. Here it is. And the only person that could put it here is me. Bhagwan Vishnu noticed that something was missing. His shank. And recognizing his shank was missing, Bhagwan Vishnu used all of his powers trying to find this. There was no success. But he did not give up. It is better to try and fail, and try and fail, and try and fail, than to fail to try. It is better to fail countless times. And every time there is a failure, it is an opportunity to become better. It is an opportunity to polish yourself. It is an opportunity to shine. And so Bhagwan Vishnu, though there was no success, Bhagwan Vishnu did not give up hope. He continued looking. But in a distance, out of nowhere, Lord Vishnu started to hear something. What is he hearing? Listen, it tells us. He started hearing the shank, and the shank sounded very familiar. Will you be able to tell if I am blowing the shank or some next Pundit is blowing the shank? Would you be able to tell? Would you be able to tell just by the sound of the shank? Would you be able to tell by the way it is being blown? How will you be able to tell? This shank belongs to Lord Vishnu, and he knows what it will sound like. Whether he is blowing it, whether somebody else is blowing it, he knows what it will sound like. And so immediately hearing this shank, he knows that it is his shank being blown. So he goes in the direction in which he is hearing the shank. And going in the direction in which he is hearing the shank, it takes him to Mount Kailash, the abode of Lord Shiva. The same Shiva that he was praying to He takes him to the abode of Bhagwan Shankar. And going to the abode of Lord Shiva, what will happen? He is confused. He is thinking, is it that a demon stole this Shank from me while I was praying? Is it that Narad Muni is trying to play a trick on me? Lord Vishnu, he went in the direction in which he was hearing the Shank, but he did not want to be seen. So hiding himself away, he wants to see who is blowing the Shank. And while hiding himself away, he observes that his Shank is in the hand of Lord Ganesh. And Lord Ganesh is blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing, but it is difficult for him to blow because he has a trunk. And so it is very difficult for him to blow. Have you ever heard somebody tried to blow the Shank, but you're only hearing air going through the Shank and no sound is coming? Have you ever heard that before? There was one night Ashish was trying to learn to blow the Shank. Well, I tell you, that was an experience. Because he blew and blew and blew and blew and everybody went to sleep, and then finally he was able to blow the Shank, and then you know what happens? For the entire night he was blowing the Shank. And I had to tell him then that the Shank is not a toy, it is not something to play with, and so you ought not to blow the Shank in the night. Blowing of the Shank is something very sacred, and tonight we will learn that in the Katha. We would learn about the symbolism of this Shank. Lord Ganesh trying to blow and trying to blow and trying to blow. Lord Vishnu stood there, and Lord Vishnu observing the dilemma of Lord Ganesh. You know what happens? Lord Vishnu started to laugh. And he couldn't contain himself. He started to laugh. Bhagwan Vishnu, he decides, I will not approach Lord Ganesh. He's a child. Let me go to Lord Shiva. And Hatha Jod with his hands together, Lord Vishnu stands before Lord Shiva. What is he saying to Lord Shiva? Immediately Lord Vishnu says, Lord Shiva, I am sorry to come. But I had to come because my Shank was stolen by your son, Ganesh. And so I want to get it back. But I'm asking you, can you help me? Lord Shiva is asking, how do you know? And Lord Vishnu is saying, well, I saw it. He has it. And so Lord Shiva is saying, then why did you come to me? If he stole your Shank, you saw it with him, then why didn't you ask him? And Lord Vishnu says, well, you are his father. If you ask him, he would listen to you. He will obey you. Lord Shiva smiles and he says, I promise you, you go yourself and ask, and he will obey you as well. As children, we were trained in our days to have the same respect for somebody else's parents that you will have for your own. As children, we were trained to treat others as you will have them treat you. Isn't it? Bhagwan Vishnu, he bowed to Lord Shiva. And bowing to Lord Shiva, he turned around. And what will happen? Listen, it tells us. He now makes his way to Lord Ganesh. And what will happen? The Katha tells us. Lord Vishnu approached Lord Ganesh, and Lord Vishnu started having a conversation with Lord Ganesh. And he says, oh Lord Ganesh, I noticed that you have a Shank. Tell me, where did you get it? And Lord Ganesh says, well, I came to visit you, and so you were in great meditation, and so I really wanted to meet with you. I really wanted to see you. So I looked around and I saw your Shank, and so I took it from in your hand, and I know that if I could blow this Shank, when you hear it, you would immediately be waken up from your meditation and you will come in search of it. Lord Vishnu smiled. Has somebody ever borrowed something from you and you didn't know? They say they borrow. You say they what? You say what? We don't say take in Trinidad. Don't lie in the press. Talk the truth. Has somebody ever taken something without informing you, and you have to find out, or somebody saw them wearing or using, and then bring it to your attention? Sometimes we have so much that we don't even miss. We're not able to tell, we're not able to identify that something is missing. Bhagwan Vishnu says, then come. You're trying to blow the Shank, but you're not able to blow it. Then come, let me teach you. And so Bhagwan Vishnu begins to teach Lord Ganesh of how to blow the Shank. Having this lesson, Lord Ganesh now masters the art of blowing the Shank because he's taught. But being taught, Bhagwan Vishnu says, now I must make my way back to Vishnu Lok. But making my way back to Vishnu Lok, I want to leave a blessing with you, Lord Ganesh. That wherever worship will be done to the Devatas and to the Devis, from the time the Shank will be blown, it will summon the arrival and the presence of all the Devatas and all the Devis. And so today I give you this blessing, that even you will appear in that place where the Shank will be blown. I give you this Varadan, Bhagwan Vishnu is saying to Lord Ganesh. And so Lord Ganesh accepts this. Bhagwan Vishnu, who is already holding his Shank, he doesn't have to ask because his Shank was given to him already. He makes his way back to Vishnu Lok.